Chapter 7 Lost Puppy. Dusk was beginning to fall as we wandered out into the narrow street. My courage fell, too, with every step. Fingering what was left of our money, I wondered how long it would last us. I regretted being too proud to share our story with Tea Shop Auntie. I should have asked her for help with finding a safe place to stay. "Find Maripachi," you demanded. "She's gone," I said. "You threw her at the bad man, remember?" "Maripachi," you repeated louder. "You saved me, Ruku. You were a hero." "Maripachi," you yelled. "We have better things to worry about than your doll," I burst out. "Amma." You turned your back to me. "Amma." "She's not here either. We just have each other now." You plopped down right there on the dusty street. "Fine. Sit." "Ruku wants Amma. Ruku wants Maripachi." "Shouting's not going to bring them here." You scowled at me, and I spun on my heel and strode away, hoping you'd follow, but you didn't. I waited at the end of the street for a while, but you seemed quite content to stay where you were. You won that round. When I came back for you, you were bending over a skinny puppy with huge dark eyes. "Get away from that puppy, Ruku. It might bite." At the sound of my voice, the puppy thumped its tail. You stroked it tenderly with just one finger. "Come on, please," I said. You started humming to the puppy. It licked you with its pink tongue. "I'm really sorry, Ruku." You made no move to show me you'd heard me, though you usually forgave me if I sounded apologetic. I crouched beside you. The puppy looked right at me, and his nose crinkled, like he was smiling. I couldn't help petting him. His coat was smooth. He wiggled and sniffed my hand. "Ruku's dog." I sighed. "We don't have enough to eat or a proper place to sleep yet, and you want to adopt this orphan?" "Cootie," you announced, tapping his head. "Cootie." "Cootie, that's what we're calling him?" I knew there was no point in trying to get you to leave the puppy behind, and I didn't want to leave Cootie behind either. Because he'd smiled at me, and because he made you so happy. Your eyes were as shiny as the puppy's wet nose. "Okay," I said, "but now we need to find a place to sleep." "Come." You stood and beckoned to the puppy. "Come, Cootie." Cootie pricked up his ears and stood attentively at your side, like he understood you perfectly. "I have no idea where to go," I admitted. "You choose." You broke into the widest grin I'd ever seen and started marching down the street, realizing with a twinge of guilt that I'd never let you lead before. I followed. On one street corner, 3 boys had already settled in for the night, huddled together on a tattered straw mat behind a dumpster. We saw another group of kids still at work, trying to sell newspapers to people who were stopped in their cars at a traffic light. It felt good to have Cootie trotting close to our heels along the dark streets. He was probably too small to scare away strangers, but surely he'd bark in warning if someone tried to sneak up on us when we went to sleep. If we ever found a place to sleep. We walked beneath a huge billboard with a larger-than-life picture of a woman decked in gold jewelry. Not just bangles and necklaces and earrings and nose rings, but even golden hair clips. "Pretty," you said, pausing beneath it. "Pretty?" "Gold at super low prices at Thangdom House," the billboard proclaimed, though the price for the necklace it advertised was a number followed by more zeros than I cared to count. "What comes after the 10,000s, Ruku?" 11, you said promptly. 10, 11. "Right," I smiled. "After 10 is 11, and we'll never have tens of thousands of rupees, so who cares what comes next?" We wandered onto a wider road that led to a river. 2 bridges spanned it. One was well lit with traffic rumbling across it. The other was dark and deserted. We headed to the deserted bridge. Concrete lions stood on either side of what must have once been the grand entrance, and a crumbling concrete wall beside it. The perfect spot to stay overnight, I decided. Probably the most secluded spot we could get in this city. Careful, I warned as we picked our way around the holes in the ruined bridge. Pretty! You pointed at the river that glittered like crushed glass far below us. Halfway across the bridge, I saw a makeshift shelter. Someone had made a tent with a tarpaulin. Rocks held one edge of the tarpaulin in place along the wall of the bridge. The tent sloped down to the ground, where its other edge was held down with an old car tire. A cleverly built home, with one wall, a sloping roof, and two entrances. Looks like it was abandoned ages ago, I said. Want to stay here? Ruku wants eat. You gobbled the bananas, and Cootie and I finished off the vidais. Our food was gone before I realized I should have saved something for the next day. It was beginning to get dark, but I could make out a boy marching up the bridge. He reminded me of a sunflower. Matted hair that looked like it had never met a comb stuck out like petals around his face that seemed much too large for his skinny body. He wore an oversized yellow t-shirt and a raggedy pair of shorts that held a bag and a wooden stick. Vanakkam, I greeted him, relieved that he was smaller than us. Go away, he said. You're polite, aren't you? I said. If you stay here, my boss will come and... He punched the air. Tishum, Tishum, he'll show you. Tishum, you imitated him, repeating his nonsense word. Tishum, Tishum. He smiled at you. Then he turned to me and said in a tone he seemed to think was impressive. My boss is coming. With the rest of our gang. Your gang? I peered into the gloom. No one else as far as I could see. 20 boys, all 10 times taller than me. You're a bad liar, I said. Awa! You pointed at a scab on his knee. Don't worry, he said to you, as he sat down cross-legged, pulling his t-shirt over his scraggy knees. It doesn't hurt anymore. Cootie sniffed at the boy and licked him. My name's Muthu, he said. What's your dog called? Ruku's dog, you said with pride. You sat right next to Muthu, as though he invited us to sit. Cootie. He patted Cootie tentatively. Then he glanced behind us. Look, that's my boss.